So welcome to Track 2 British Champs 2017. On the track we've got Auld Reekie Roller Girls B team in the green, Rebellion Roller Derby in the black. I'm Brom, I'll be walking you through this game. Wherever you're joining us from, tune in. Hashtag British Champs Live if you're posting Twitter, Facebook, Instagram. So already we've got Rebellion Roller Derby off to a great start. Boris, your lead jammer. A nice empty penalty box. Boris through the pack, picking up another 4 points. MK for Auld Reekie. Attempting to make a star pass. The star in the hand of the pivot. Velocity now the active jammer for Auld Reekie. Boris being recycled to the back of the green wall. A cut track penalty issued to Velocity. It will be a power jam start for Rebellion when they return to the track. 9 points. 13 points picked up by Boris. And an amazing season for Rebellion so far. Back in April when they played Hell's Bells, they won by 204 points. In May when they played Surrey, they won by 64 points. When they played Norfolk in June, they won by 389 points. And when they played Kellerhurst in July, they won by 204. An incredibly strong team. Bench coach Blitzkrieg. That's number 8, your lead jammer. Drop her for Rebellion in the black. Drop her fighting at the front of the pack, getting through to pick up 4 points. An empty penalty box. The announcer's curse. Nightmare for Rebellion, off to the box. Drop her fighting out the front of the pack. Grass collision course. Passing. Rebellion looking to run out as much time on the clock very early on. Nearly the full 2 minutes gone on the clock for this jam. Drop her with a really nice bit of 1 foot glide on the outside of turn 2. But crash collision course picking up points now as well for Auld Reekie Roller Girls B team. The first 4 points on the board for them in green. A really strong start for Rebellion. A 28-point jam. So acute injury stepping up for Rebellion. Going up against Danisaurus Rex for Auld Reekie. It's Rebellion that pick up the lead, but it is a very quick cut track penalty. A power jam in the favour of Auld Reekie. Some really nicely formed walls by both teams. Auld Reekie trapping one of Rebellion's blockers at the back of the pack. Dinosaurus Rex about to start putting the points on the board. Rebellion 41, Auld Reekie on 9. Emka for Auld Reekie going up against 365 Fox U for Rebellion. Rebellion showing some really strong walls, holding back Auld Reekie. But a forearms penalty has been issued to Rebellion's jammer. A power jam in the favour of Auld Reekie. A charging penalty issued to Rebellion's Black 4-9. And lead jam has been called on Auld Reekie. Emka. Fox U coming in with some astonishing speed, but it has meant a back block off to the penalty box. Both of these teams have had incredible seasons. Auld Reekie's B team only lost one game this season by 2 points as well back in April against Granite City. An incredibly close game coming down to the very end. But the rest of the season, they've won by some astonishing points differentials. In May to Spartown, 395 points ahead of Spartown, 213 points ahead of the Banditas in July. Both jammers in the penalty box now. You see a quick change as Rebellion's jammer returns to the track. Fox U coming up against that wall of green, making it look like you can pass with relatively ease. I've been joined by a friend.
So, 10 minutes into this game, Reekie on 13, Rebellion on 46.
Hang on, no one can hear you yet. You've not been plugged in. Hang on. I think you're with us now. Is that one working? No, it's not working at all. Oh, have you got another microphone as well? Okay.
Are we there now with our technical difficulties, Brom?
We are, but you've got a nasty hum on that, so I reckon if we can share the one we've got, maybe that'll be nicer for the people
I don't want
at
a
home.
nasty hum.
There we go. Let's just share what we've got.
So we are back, and apologies, I am the lovely Beatrix, joined by Brom. We have Rebellion playing in the black, Auld Reekie in the green. Currently the scores are Auld Reekie 13, Rebellion 48. And Brom, we've had over 11 minutes of gameplay now.
Both teams looking incredibly strong. I mean, Rebellion have been off to a stronger start, but both teams so far this season have had some incredible games.
Auld Reekie's jammer sent off with a cut track penalty, so this is a power jam in favour of Rebellion. Rebellion's jammer Boris is through, picking up the full 5 points.
Very early doors, looking to get that points differential just out in front. Boris pushing hard in the front of the pack.
Well, Auld Reekie hemorrhaging blockers right now in this jam. 2 blockers in the penalty box, plus their jammer who's just been released back onto track. That is Danisaurus Rex. But Boris taking full advantage of this light pack, picking up a further 5 points for Rebellion. Danisaurus Rex on the turn 2-3. Not able to make it a headway here between the Rebellion defence.
A very densely populated pack, making it all the harder for Reekie's jammer to break their way through.
Well, jam comes to an end there. 1 further point picked up by Rebellion takes their jam total to 20. Their overall score at 68. Auld Reekie holding at 13, and we've got 17 and a half minutes left.
And judging by the number of people currently sat trackside, this is obviously one of the games to watch this weekend. Every seat and mat space taken. And a team timeout has been called by Auld Reekie.
I think much needed right now, Brom. As we see, they are 55 points ahead, behind Rebellion. So probably a great time for them to just refocus and reset, have a look at what's going wrong, how they can counteract that awesome defence that Rebellion are putting up.
And I don't think we've really seen the Auld Reekie that we've seen so far this season either so far. And so maybe this, they'll take this time out to just regroup, look at what's happened in the first few minutes of this game. Just take that time to have a rest, because Rebellion are putting up one hell of a fight.
Yeah, definitely. Well, team timeout comes to an end. And already on that jammer line for Rebellion, it is number 8, Dewdropper, lining up. They're going to be joined by number 17, MCAR, for Auld Reekie. Penalty box is nice and clear for both teams.
That 5 seconds call. And the jam is on.
Dewdropper just moving side to side, testing the defences at the back of this pack. Finds the outside line. Very little resistance there to pick up lead jammer. Well, Emka tries again, still on this initial. Scooches past 0-0 from Rebellion. That's Vicky Vale. And jam comes to an end as Dewdropper manages to pick up those 4 points for Rebellion and denying Auld Reekie any.
Acute injury, looking like they're getting ready to line up for the next jam. Going up against green 612, crash collision course.
Call.
Acute injury testing the backs of the Auld Reekie wall. Same happening up front.
So two very distinct packs out on track right now. Auld Reekie lose a blocker to the penalty box, meaning only two at the back there to keep acute injury at bay. She takes the outside line, picks up lead jammer.
A great look of satisfaction when you pick up lead jammer early in a game.
Well, crash collision calls there, managing to just scooch up past the hips of Beauty Vicious to get out of that pack. But acute injury, already picking up points and calling off that jam before Auld Reekie are able to score. So once again, 4 points on the board for Rebellion. Oh, but Auld Reekie pick up 1, so 14 plays 76. We've got 15 and a half minutes left of this first half.
Fox Hughes stepping up to jam for Rebellion. Going up against Dinosaurus Rex for Auld Reekie.
Dinosaurus Rex takes the front wall of Rebellion. All 4 blockers focused on keeping her at bay. Rebellion's jammer takes a tumble, recovers well though. 2 up front now, 1 left to pass, that's number 27. Gets on through to pick up lead. Dinosaurus Rex though also able to find that space on the turn of turn 2.
Dinosaurus picking up some speed to try and deny Rebellion the opportunity to put any more points on the board. But it looks like Rebellion are playing the game of trying to run the clock down.
Yeah, and that works out well for them. One of Auld Reekie's blockers off to that penalty box. So yet again another light pack for Auld Reekie. Currently only 2 blockers on the box as Fox Hughes takes the inside line and calls off that jam.
I'm really enjoying the approach that Rebellion are taking and having that trust in their blockers that they can run the time down, give away the odd point here or there because they've got that faith that the blockers are just going to hold the opposing jammer back.
Yep, and they're not really playing any offense either. They're keeping all 4 blockers just focused on keeping Auld Reekie's jammers contained. So making it really difficult for Auld Reekie to make any kind of headway, grab any kind of points. Obviously that's working out really well for Rebellion. Auld Reekie now though have to think about how they're going to spring their jammer free quicker.
And Rebellion picking up lead, it's Boris. Emka currently stuck in the pack for Auld Reekie.
And once again we're seeing that Rebellion work on the Auld Reekie jammer, just opening up that inside line for Boris to break through. 5 points on the board, and Emka picks up a cut track penalty, so this is a super jam once again in favour of Rebellion. Boris making no haste in grabbing points. Rebellion keeping a goat player at the back as Boris tackles the front pack, finds some space on the outside line.
Rebellion losing one of their blockers, Nightmare, to the penalty box, and another one already currently sat down.
So light pack for Rebellion, but as we've seen already, the jammer's not really expecting any kind of offensive help. Still going it alone here, running the gauntlet of green blockers from Auld Reekie. Edges aplenty, they take that inside line. But MCAR back on track and in play now for Auld Reekie. Removed the star to get through that pack. I just wonder whether Rebellion are going to run it long.
Judging by the first few jams of the game, I think we can expect Rebellion to use some of the time that we've got in the period, just run it down. They've got a great points advantage now as well. Rebellion currently, Boris picking up 20 points this jam. Emka's got put on 4, but when 104 plays 22, you might as well use some of that time.
Yeah, absolutely. And here we see Boris just finally exiting that pack. Now this is the first time that I saw Rebellion did have to go into offensive mode to help spring their jammer free. And Boris did a great job of just stepping back, waiting for that support to come, not doing anything crazy themselves. The support came in, the cavalry came in from, sprung them out of the pack, and they were able to pick up those final 4 points. So 24-point jam total there to Rebellion, 7 for Auld Reekie. Scores at the moment, 25 for Auld Reekie, 108 to Rebellion. We've got 11.5 minutes left of this first half.
So stepping up for Rebellion, Dewdropper going up against Green 612 Crash Collision Course for Auld Reekie beating.
And it is Dewdropper who picks up lead jammer.
but closely followed by Crash Kale Legion Course, who has got that initial pass very quickly.
Dewdropper comes in now, hits the triangle at the front of the pack. Auld Reekie really starting to step it up on their defence here against the jammer. But Dewdropper finds a space on the inside, picks up lead. Nearly 30 seconds though into the jam, Brom. We've got points on the board for both teams. All the bench telling Dewdropper to call off the jam.
Both teams down 2 blockers apiece going into the next jam of the game. 10 minutes left on the clock. 116 plays 29.
And Auld Reekie, they're able to pick up points, but not able to match the points of the Rebellion team in that last jam. Dewdropper was able to just put on a little burst of speed to get through that pack and then call it off. Of course, one of the great advantages of being lead jammer. So back to it, it's a cute injury with the star for Rebellion. But number 15 for Auld Reekie, Danisaurus Rex is your lead jammer.
It's been a while since we've seen an Auld Reekie lead jammer on the track. The Rebellion chasing down with a huge amount of speed. Are they going to trust the time like Rebellion have been trusting it and look to just add some points to the board?
Auld Reekie started to run some interference, dropped back to pick up a cute injury for Rebellion. But then Danisaurus Rex also came up against some defensive work from the Rebellion blockers, was knocked out. Okay, they did recover, but only able to equal the 4 points picked up by acute injury from Rebellion.
So no changes to the points differential after that jam.
Yeah, 120 plays 33, 9.5 minutes left on the clock.
And Rebellion have called a team timeout. Bench coach Blitzkrieg just pulling everyone back in. And a very passionate bench coach, I think, has really worked hard with Rebellion over the last season. You've seen a noticeable difference, a few changes to some of the players in the last year.
So Rebellion in the UKRDA league table currently sit at 34. And in Europe they are 40th. Our B team sit at 73. And I'm sure that we've already looked back at these stats already, but Rebellion unbeaten this season. All wins for them against Hellsbells, Surrey, Norfolk and Kilohertz.
Funny enough, Kilohertz is Blitzkrieg's old team where he used to bench coach. I'm sure that would have been a very fun game to watch in Chelmsford as he coaches the opposing team to his old team.
365 Foxshoe with the star for Rebellion.
Going up against MK for Auld Reekie.
MK makes a move towards the front first, but Foxshoe takes the outside line to pick up lead.
A densely populated pack is really slowing up MK's opportunities to find that hole, and they are pushing out the front of the pack. Holds up, gets recycled all the way to the back again.
Yeah, great work there by 0-0 Vicky Bale. Well, Foxshoe just pushing against that last line of defence, that is Velocity. Velocity with a knock to the inside, forcing Foxshoe to recycle right the way back. And MK off to the penalty box. Power jam once again in favour of Rebellion. Teams setting up on between turns 1 and 2. Foxshoe chooses to take the middle and then outside of the pack for those points. Auld Reekie also now with 2 blockers in that penalty box, so micro pack out on track. They try and stretch the pack back towards the pivot line, but they don't have enough bodies, Brom.
No, and I think they're just buying themselves a touch of time. It's not worked in their favour while the remaining 2 blockers return to the track, but it was all too late. They're through and scoring the points.
So MK has returned to play, star in hand. You can see now they're just trying to pass their way through that pack, but Rebellion holding strong at the front as Foxshoe knocked out are going for the recycle, but Fox Shoe decides to call off the jam. So 18-point jam there for Rebellion, no points for Auld Reekie. 33 plays 138. We've got 7.5 minutes left of this game.
Crash collision course back on the track for Arg B. Boris for Rebellion. In a couple of jams, Boris has had a bit of a break, but in the first couple of jams in the game, Boris really added some points very quickly that gave Rebellion that start that now sees them on 138.
Boris pushing forward, comes up against a 2-wall, knocked inside, recycled right the way back into turn 2. All the action on the straightaway between turn 2 and 3 right now. Crash Kale on the outside, but it is Boris who picks up lead.
That determination and that push to just drive forward the green wall.
Boris comes in now on a scoring pass, hits the wall of green at the back of the pack. Great jammer awareness though, calls off that jam. 1 point picked up for Rebellion, 2 points picked up for Rebellion, no points for Auld Reekie.
2 very hard 4 points.
Yes.
So Dewdropper for Rebellion. Dinosaurus Rex for Arg B.
Rebellion with one blocker sitting in that penalty box. Line up at the front of the jam wall. Dinosaurus Rex moves to the outside, gets knocked out though by number 69, Hench, forced to recycle right the way back. Dewdropper pushing forward, 3-wall built by Auld Reekie just in turn 1. Dinosaurus Rex tries the inside line, knocked out, recycled back.
Dinosaurus Rex finding some success through the pack to pick up lead jammer for Arg. Both pivots for each team sent to the penalty box.
And we're seeing a little bit of a race going on here as Auld Reekie try and run the pack. Dinosaurus Rex decides there's not enough separation between her and Dewdropper, calls off the jam. So 140 plays 35, 5 minutes left of this first half. 2 points picked up by Auld Reekie in that last jam though, Brom. So slowly chipping away.
They are, and I think when they come back in the second half, there's going to have to be some real speed and haste put on the team.
I mean, it's a 105-point differential, so the reality is that Auld Reekie are probably not going to win this game. However, that doesn't mean that they can't decrease that differential against them. Acute injury is off with a 4 arms penalty, so this is a power jam in favour of Auld Reekie, and exactly the kind of situation they now need to take advantage of. MCAR with the star for Auld Reekie, still in the mix on that initial pass.
The Rebellion are well aware that it's a power jam, and they are really trying their best to try and form a strong wall. Arg coming in and just destroying every opportunity the Rebellion are having to come together, and it's worked in their favour. Emka's found that hole and gets through, picks up lead jammer.
It did take nearly 40 seconds for that lead jam to be called. Reck and Ralph doing some outstanding work at the front of that pack and just tracking Emka through. She's now in though for a scoring pass as acute injury returns to play. A nightmare with the knockout and recycle back on MCAR. Auld Reekie's walls being built at the back and just forcing acute injury to go into the middle of that brace 3 wall.
Rage of Honour and Lady Scrapnel at the back of that Auld Reekie wall, holding together tight, and it's really sewing Rebellion up.
Velocity coming in to try and offer up some offense for MCAR. Kind of stuck between a rock and a hard place though, as they have to bridge that pack back to allow Auld Reekie's defences to keep on rolling against acute injury. But it also means that Rebellion's defences were still in play. But MCAR breaks it through there. 5 points on the board for Auld Reekie, no points for Rebellion. As MCAR in the final seconds of this jam comes in once again, just as we see a star pass to Doyle for Rebellion.
That was an incredibly hard 2 minutes for what was 5 points.
Yes.
Very hard fought.
Well, 8 points overall though, Brom. And 3 points picked up by Rebellion. 143 plays 43, so a 100-point differential. 2.5 minutes left of this first half. Bit of track repair going on over in between turn 2 and 3, and I am not surprised because we're seeing a lot of this gameplay happening in these turns, Brom.
So Fox U on the jam line for Rebellion in black.
And 612 Crash Collision, of course, for Auld Reekie in the green. Stoppage comes to an end. Fox U just slightly dropped back. We see this lineup, so Auld Reekie starting on the jammer line with that brace 3 wall straight away. Rebellion slightly further forward. Crash Collision course takes advantage of that, finds a space on the outside, picks up lead. Fox U about half a lap behind. And Auld Reekie look to try and run the pack. The Rebellion certainly not making it easy. Huge hit there by number 69, Hench. On Crash Collision. Forces the jam to be called off from.
Fantastic timing from Hench as well.
So 3 points picked up by Auld Reekie, denies Rebellion any. 48 plays 143. We have number 13, Boris, with the star for Rebellion.
Going up against Danosaurus Rex for ARG B. Boris finding that space round the Auld Reekie wall very quickly to pick up lead jammer. But Danosaurus Rex also out of the pack, picking up the initial pack, about half a lap behind.
Well, Boris comes through on that inside, just avoiding any kind of attempt from Auld Reekie to defend, calls off the jam, picks up the full allocation of points.
Less than a minute left on the clock of the first period. 147 plays 50.
Yeah, Auld Reekie picking up 2 in that last jam, so great work by them. They've consistently scored over the past 4 jams. What we're not seeing though is any of these higher scoring 28-29 point jams, even when we've had power jams in favour of Auld Reekie, and that just shows the defensive work that Rebellion are doing out on track.
So Rebellion's Dewdropper going up against ARG's MK. MK at the front of the pack, breaking through, picking up lead, while Dewdropper stuck in that meluge of green players.
Dewdropper's out, MK though coming in and hunting down points. Looks for some support from her team. 2 left to pass up front of Rebellion. Scooches on by, calls off the jam, but I think Dewdropper also able to pick up points there. Let's check that. Yes, 4 points for Auld Reekie, but 2 points for Rebellion. And as we go into half time, Auld Reekie on 54, Rebellion 149.
Don't forget to get in touch with us at British Champs, hashtag British Champs Live on Twitter and Instagram, and we'll be back with the second half very shortly.
Okay, so here you are back with us at the 2017 Tier 2, Tier 3 British Champs. I'm the lovely Beatrix.
And I am the not as lovely Brom.
Oh, I don't know. It's not a competition.
Oh, we're all compliments. How lovely.
So Auld Reekie going into the second half at 54 points. Rebellion roller derby 149. If you're just joining us, Auld Reekie playing in the green, Rebellion in the black. And we saw total dominance from Rebellion in that first half.
Yeah, absolute strong walls, strong jamming. Boris, who currently jamming for Rebellion, had an incredibly strong first half, looking like going to come back in the second half with an equally strong game.
But interestingly, from what we didn't see was huge points being scored in each jams. They were 9, 10, 15 points. Okay, sometimes we got up to those 20s, but not very often.
No, and it was only really in the first few minutes of the game that we saw a 20-point jam or slightly more than that. On the whole, it was between 2 to 10 points. And nearly every jam, both sides picking up those points, but Rebellion just having that edge to eke the score out in their favour.
So back to the action. Boris is your lead jammer. Cuts through that pack to pick up 5 points for Rebellion. Auld Reekie's jammer though, Dinosaurus Rex, hot on their wheels. Is it going to be enough pressure to force Boris to call this off? They come into the pack and that's exactly what they do from.
And there was some real speed on that pack towards the end of that first jam of the second half.
Yeah, I think Auld Reekie now maybe in the position where they don't want to cede any more points to Rebellion. But equally they're going to have to start to increase their scoring, which is a very, very poorly. I've lost my words already.
It's easier said than done, though.
Really,
it really is.
If I was out on track, it'd be a whole mess. Let me tell you. So back into this next jam, we have number 91 for Auld Reekie. That is Track Adder. I think the first time we've seen Track Adder jamming.
It is the first time this game, and Dewdrop, her number 8, who in the first half of the game was incredibly strong, has picked up a cut track penalty and off to the box. Number 49 for Rebellion, putting on a huge hit against Auld Reekie's jammer.
Yeah, that's Nightmare. Doing a great job of just being that defensive player, and we're seeing here with that huge hit out. Now they were out of play. Are they going to pick up a penalty for it? No.
They're not.
So I think that engagement happened just as the ref called it out of play. Maybe that's why. Track Adder through that pack though. Picked up points. Coming in for those points now. Takes the outside line and catches Rebellion sleeping slightly there. 5 points on the board for Auld Reekie as Dewdrop is back on track and in play for Rebellion.
Full complement of skaters on the track for both sides now.
And Track Adder side surfing up that outside line, but got caught by her own player there and disrupted, giving Rebellion the opportunity to just catch Track Adder in their defences.
Both teams picking up points, 4 for Rebellion, 7 for Auld Reekie.
So 61 plays 160, that's a 99-point differential for all you math geeks outside.
We're yet to see a time in the game where Rebellion have had over 100 in front, but they're coming ever closer to that point. Jamming for them, acute injury in the black, Auld Reekie's jammer number 17, MK in the green.
Rebellion's jammer just pushing forward on that inside line, picks up lead.
MK really struggling against just 1 or 2 individuals from Rebellion. Nightmare once again showing that they are not going to go down easily.
Certainly living up to their name as acute injury comes through the middle of that pack, picks up 5 points. Enka takes the outside line, hit off by Vicky Vale, recycled right the way back between turns 1 and 2 on that straightaway. All the action happening here. Acute injury now, dancing against the defences of Auld Reekie. Berry with the escort right to the outside as Emka finally breaks through on that initial, almost a minute into this jam. An acute injury just shoveling their way through that pack, finds an easy opening on the inside line. Points on the board further for Rebellion.
Emka's got some real speed. Rebellion struggling to slow them down. I spoke too soon. Fighting at the front of the pack. Emka's really pushing, finds that space, gets through. Now Auld Reekie are picking up the points as well.
But Emka is nearly half a lap behind here, and acute injury takes advantage, breaks through that pack once more, pulls off the jam. So 14-point jam there in favour of Rebellion. 4 points picked up by Auld Reekie. 65 plays 174. And there you go, with that massive lead of 109. I was getting there.
I've got the calculator, right? I'm cheating.
109 point differential now by Rebellion.
Rebellion one blocker down in the box at the moment.
So penalties haven't really been a huge factor in this game too much. We've seen both teams have had blockers go into the box. We've had micro packs out on track all the way through the first half for both teams. Really, it's been Auld Reekie that have suffered with the loss of jammers. And when Rebellion's jammers have been in that penalty box, Auld Reekie have been unable to take advantage of that, and we see that in the scoreline, because Rebellion's blockers are so together. Even when there's only 2 out on track, it's like they've almost trained for that scenario.
I think it's quite evident. I think Blitzkrieg has absolutely put them all through their paces. The blockers to make sure that even if there's 2 there, they're ready. The jammers, that if they come up against a scenario where they've got no offense available, that they can just plough through and carry on. And Boris is showing that to us right now.
Yeah. 5 points on the board for Boris. Crash Kale knocked out, recycled back, and Boris just making light work through the middle of that pack, Brom. Crash Kale coming in. Last line of defence, number 88 for Rebellion. That's Tina Turner. Joined by number 20, Wreckham Ralph with that huge hit out. Crash Kale recovers, but Boris already through and picking up 4 further points for Rebellion.
Boris contemplating going head to head with Crash, but actually saves the energy for a little bit later in the game and calls it off.
Sassy call off as well, may I say.
It was.
So 189 plays 65, 23 minutes left of this second half. And just to give you a feel for the atmosphere here today, incredibly crowded in the seating area, lots of fantastic stalls happening all around the area, and people just cheering for the love of roller derby. If you didn't make it here this year, I would definitely advise you to get yourself a ticket for next year's. But right now we're back to it. Dewdropper, lead jammer for Rebellion, comes up against Dinosaurus Rex. Dewdropper coming in for a scoring pass, but finds all of the bodies in their way. Takes a tumble, and once again, Dinosaurus Rex able to catch up, but her pass is impeded by number 69, Hench. Slows them down just enough that they end up about half a lap behind Dewdropper.
Both jammers putting points on the boards for their teams. Dewdropper slightly ahead of Dinosaurus.
And once again, we're seeing Rebellion just bossing this pack from. Auld Reekie looked to try and speed it up a little bit, and the Rebellion blockers got to the front and just shut that down. And it meant they were able to control Auld Reekie's jammer much better and at a slower pace.
They did, but I think in that jam, that was the least together that I think I've seen Rebellion. Like, there weren't times when they were a tight, condensed pack like we're used to seeing them.
And that shows in the scoreline, Brom. 8 points there picked up by Auld Reekie, 11 by Rebellion. So Rebellion now at that 200 mark, Auld Reekie at 73. We've got a team timeout happening. So I believe that's a team timeout for Auld Reekie.
I think.
Or was it just a track repair?
Just a bit of track repair.
And again, it shows the edges that these two teams are working to, that we're having to see so much track repair happening in this game. They're using all the space available to them.
So Trackadder stepping up for Auld Reekie.
And that is Foxu once again for Rebellion. Foxu knocked inside, recycled right the way back by a stretched out Auld Reekie between turns 2 and 3. But Foxu finds the space on the outside to pick up lead. Trackadder still in the mix, dancing on the toe stops. Knocked out by Doyle, recycled back. Foxshoe comes in on that scoring pass, uses a player to just bash their way through the pack, picking up points.
And the track adder has the panty in their hand. It's been removed from their helmet. Still coming up against, it's not full Rebellion at all. Still together, tight, 2 up front, 3 up front.
We're seeing that bridging happening once again, and Auld Reekie doing a fabulous job. Beautiful defensive walls at the back here, led by Cirque du Soleil. Finally has to let Foxshoe go though, to pick up those 5 further points, taking their jam total to 10. And we've seen a star pass.
Yep, Sid now the active jammer for Auld, number 16.
Well, Foxshoe just pounding through that wall once again there. 5 further points picked up by Rebellion. As Velocity just tries to make that, just grinding away at this pack, trying to make a pass. This is the first scoring pass for Velocity as Foxshoe takes that outside line. Oh, but not legally. Cut track penalty assessed. This will be a power jam in favour of Auld Reekie, and that jammer is going to be iced going into the next jam. So great opportunity here for Auld Reekie to at least reach that 100 mark.
Yeah, and I think Sid's showing some real force and determination. You know, Rebellion are fielding incredibly tough walls, but that is the jam. Sid denied the chance to actually put any points on the board. Oh, Rebellion picking up 15.
So their score now 215 to 73. 19 minutes left of this second half.
142 points now stands between the two teams. But actually, if you're looking at it in terms of British champs as a whole season, for Rebellion, that's only their second. Second smallest points differential as a win. If the game was to end now, I mean they've still got time. But judging the way that Auld Reekie are playing, they're going to keep chipping away at putting some points on the board.
Yeah, and I think the great thing that we're seeing from Auld Reekie here is they're not letting their heads drop. Some teams would have looked at that scoreline and thought, well, you know, what are we going to do because we're not going to win? But they've not let their heads drop at all. We've seen their jammers really fighting for all those points, and Rebellion making them work hard for them.
And you can see just by glancing over at Auld Reekie's bench, they're still working together. We can see they're working together as a 5. They're having those conversations before they go on track. It's obviously not putting a dent in their morale because we're still seeing great gameplay. And, you know, lead jammer picked up by Emka quite quickly halfway through the track.
Yeah, managed to avoid that hit from Ginger Snaps, who was last line of defence. And we're seeing Auld Reekie coming in now, number 22. Shamonster running that offence, but Foxshoe back on track and in play for Rebellion. Shamonster just trying to find an in. Foxshoe finding the inside line free and open. They are not your lead jammer though, as Emka takes the outside, moves to the inside, comes up against Vicky Vale, shrugs off that block, picks up 5 points and calls off the jam.
It nearly took Emka an entire lap of the track to pick up those 5 points. Determination. Could have seen that when Dewdrop was back on the track and got that initial pass, could have gone, I'm going to call it here, I'm just going to save that energy. But Auld Reekie is showing the most amount of perseverance I've seen for a while.
Definitely. So great jam there for Auld Reekie, as we said. 78 plays 2-1-6, 17 and a half minutes left of this second half here today, the first day of British Champs 2017. And we have 6-1-2 with the star for Auld Reekie, Crash Collision course.
Going up against Boris for Rebellion. And Boris off to the penalty box.
That looked like a cut track penalty assessed there. So once again, power jam in favour of Auld Reekie. Crash Kale takes the inside, knocked out by number 2 Doyle, recycled back into the mix. Auld Reekie's block is now really trying to go in for that offensive sweep. The Rebellion just mixing it up all the time.
Rebellion keep reforming in front of those green blockers. They're not giving up, despite the huge amount of offense that's being given. And look how quickly Boris returns to the track. Blink and you miss it. I don't think anyone even noticed that they were back on their wheels.
I agree. Well, Auld Reekie setting up at the front but not able to contain Boris for long, picking up the full allocation of points. And Crash Kale still trying to find an in. Teammates running interference, that's number 16, Velocity.
30 seconds left on the jam. Boris is scoring Crash's lead.
Crash comes in, knocked out, recycled back. We've seen a 4 ounce penalty being assessed to a Rebellion blocker there. So 2 blockers for Rebellion starting in the penalty box. And just a look at those scores. 3 points picked up by Auld Reekie, 9 though by Rebellion. Takes the scores, Auld Reekie 81, Rebellion 225. And Matt's corner will tell us that point differential.
Yep, 144 points stands between the two teams right now.
15 minutes left of this game. And for Rebellion, we have number 8, Drew Dropper, on the jam line. And that looks like Velocity for Auld Reekie.
Rebellion starting this jam with 2 in the box, 2 blockers in the box, 1 standing, 1 sitting. But like we said, they've rehearsed for this. You can see it, the two Rebellion blockers. They'll put up a strong wall.
Yeah. Yeah, there might be only 2 of them out on track, but you can see that their training has obviously focused around what do we do if we get penalties? What do we do if, there's only 2 of us out here and we have to really defend against a fast jammer or whatever, because they're doing it. They're together and they're not second guessing each other. So you really feel like they're working as an absolute team out on track. This is not a surprise to them because they have trained for this exact scenario. Okay, so Auld Reekie calling a team time out. And no surprise there. I imagine they'll be doing a bit of goal setting about where they want to get to with their points.
Yeah, I mean, they've had an incredible season. They've only lost 1 of their games themselves. And when they lost that against Granite City, it was only by 2 points.
Yeah.
These are 2 incredibly strong teams. The Rebellion have the advantage going into it, the biggest amounts of points differentials across the season. But they've never played each other before. Yeah, this is a first.
Which is always interesting then to see these kinds of matchups. Different styles of play, different styles of bench coaching, all that kind of good stuff comes into it.
I mean, one of the having been benched by Blitzkrieg in the past myself, he's really good at bringing the team together, energizing them, but also having those one-on-one conversations when people come off track. Giving just some very quick, sharp, short feedback that gives you that boost to go into the next jam with the right tools that you need.
Yeah, and we're seeing standout performance by people like Boris, who come off the track, come out of the penalty box and onto that track so quickly in that last jam that, as you said, blink and you miss her, because they were through. They were nobody defended against that pass. Nobody was even really aware that pass was taking place until after Boris had passed.
And the blocking from the likes of Doyle for Rebellion, but also from Rage of Honor and Cirque du Soleil. When those 2 are working together, it's powerful. It's holding Rebellion momentarily.
Yeah. Oh, and here we see the start of this jam. Dinosaurus Rex is your lead jammer for Auld Reekie. Drew Dropper with the start for Rebellion. And Auld Reekie just holding it firm at the back. However, Dinosaurus Rex comes in on the outside line. Drew Dropper follows in hot pursuit. Not challenged by the Auld Reekie blockers and is able to make that 4-point pass, where Dinosaurus Rex gets caught in the web of Rebellion blockers. Has to call it off. So 4 points apiece there in that jam, Rob.
No changes to those points differentials right now.
And some smart work there by Rebellion's jammer to just use that space that had already been opened up for Auld Reekie's jammer, just tailgate in, and Auld Reekie's blockers were unable to then reform themselves quick enough to make any kind of hit or defense against them. .14.5 minutes left of this game.
Neither team really showing any signs of, especially Rebellion, but even Auld Reekie, given that Rebellion are really pushing them to their limits, I'm not seeing any signs of much slow up from either team.
No. So we're just having another quick track repair here. Jam looks like it's about ready to get on. Number 91, Track Adder with the star for Auld Reekie. And that does look like acute injury for Rebellion. Acute injury on the inside, picks up lead jammer for Rebellion.
Takes down a couple of Auld Reekie blockers on the way, but picks up a back block penalty. So a power jam in Auld Reekie's favour. Last time Auld Reekie had a power jam, they struggled to put more than about 4 or 6 points on the board. Is it going to be a different story this time, given that Rebellion have a full complement of blockers on the track?
I'm really struggling to see here how Auld Reekie's play is adapting to the fact that they have a power jam in their favour. And I think that might be part of one of their problems here, is that the reason why they're not able to take advantage of these power jams quicker is because they don't switch into that offensive mode quicker. And acute injury back on track and in place. So great penalty kill from Rebellion. Auld Reekie's jammer only just getting out of the pack, a minute in to be called lead jammer, so not even on a scoring pass yet.
And Rebellion lost 2 of their blockers to the box as well, so even after those 2 blockers went to the box, it was still about 15 seconds before Auld Reekie's jammer managed to make their way through.
Trekadder though managing to grab those points, beautiful little turn on the inside line to avoid Rebellion's hits, comes in once again for another scoring pass, a little bit of side surfing, matrix moves on that outside line.
Doyle foiling those plans though on the second hit, but it's a cut track penalty for acute injury. Back to the penalty box. Auld Reekie on the upper foot again in this jam, only 10 seconds left.
So let's see now if they switch into that offensive mode required. Great hit out there by Rebellion's 455 Booty Vicious, forcing that recycle on Track Adder. And jam comes to a natural end. Rebellion calling a timeout, and much needed, I think, when your jam is in a bit of a penalty spiral. So 9 points picked up overall there for Auld Reekie, Brom. Takes their score to 94. That's something like a 132 point differential. But I know 135, 3 out. Come on. I've only had 2 cups of coffee.
I've only had 1, but I have a calculator.
So yeah, I think like looking at that last passage of play, my big thing to Auld Reekie would be you've got to switch to your offense quicker during those power jams.
And I think that's where Rebellion are picking up the advantage.
Yes, definitely. Because their defense is so strong, they're not having to do anything radically different. They're not being challenged during those power jams at all. They're able to just neutralise them by keeping their walls solid, and that beautiful recycling we're seeing either forwards or backwards from their blockers when Auld Reekie are trying to run disruption. It just the way they're able to reset and reform back into that master plan almost is working to their advantage in this game.
It looks rehearsed.
It looks rehearsed.
It looks rehearsed. Looks like they've done this before.
Really? You think 4 wins under their belts, 5 wins under their belts this season? I think so. Acute injury up against MK. MK pushing forward.
takes a big hit from Reekie Vale, recycled to the back.
Of course, this is a power jam that's just coming to an end as Acute Injury is back on track. Tries to fake out the old Reekie blockers, but the whole might of green comes against them, and Emka's made it out as lead. Acute Injury though powering forward. Old Reekie's bench telling them to run it long as Emka comes through the middle. Beautiful work there to just side dip away from Reekie Vale. Calls off the jam. 4 points picked up, and Old Reekie edging closer to that 100 mark, Brom.
I think they're going to come to it very shortly. I mean, we've got 11 minutes left. Judging by the way they've been scoring points so far this game, Old Reekie have got something left in them.
Yeah, definitely. 229 plays 98. We're about ready to go with the next jam. Number 13, Boris with the star for Rebellion.
Going up against Crash Kale, collision course for Old Reekie.
Boris moves inside, outside, tests the defences of Old Reekie, pushing them forward now, just past the pivot line, into turn one, picks up lead jammer.
Boris's success rate this game is astonishing.
Yes. I have nothing else to add to that.
No, that's it.
Crash Kale makes it out of the pack just as Boris hits the back looking for points. Boris on the outside, moves inside, finds that door closed, sees the space on the outside line. Sid unable to offer any defense against them as Booty Vicious was there running some great interference and distraction work.
Crash Kale really struggling on that outside line. Rebellion just knocking them off again and again and again.
Yeah, and that's that work of Booty Vicious just marking the jammer all the way through this pack.
But a cut track penalty's been issued to Boris, so that's going to take the speed off Rebellion slightly. They're still placing very well timed and well executed hits on the opposition that's knocking them down, waiting for Old Reekie to switch to that offensive play.
To me right now it doesn't even look clear that they realise that there was a power jam. Here they are now going in with that offensive sweep. Rebellion though already quite organised. We've got the two up front, 69 Hench, 49 Nightmare. You know, what a nightmare scenario to come up against those two blockers when they're organised and ready. Joined now by number 20 Rack and Ralph.
You know, and no sooner has the power jam come to an end, Boris is back on the track. She's through and picking up 4 points.
Crash Kale still looking for an in here. But Rebellion just, you know, dominating that front line completely. 2 points picked up for Old Reekie. 9 points in total though for Rebellion. Let's just check in with those scores now. So Old Reekie hitting that 100 mark. Rebellion at 238. 8 minutes 44 left of this second half.
Dew Chopper for Rebellion picks up the lead very quickly off the inside line. Danosaurus getting stuck behind Rebellion, eking out two of their blockers right to the front. Black 313 being that last line of defence. Ginger Snaps.
You know, when we've seen Ginger Snaps on track, they've been very active in really closing the door on those jammers and denying them the opportunity to pick up points. And certainly we saw that in that last pass, Brom. So 8 points overall there for Rebellion, no points for Old Reekie. Number 91, Trackadder with the star now for Old Reekie.
Fox U for Rebellion.
7.5 minutes left of this second half.
The jams are speeding up.
Yes.
Yeah, they're not ready. In the first half, we saw Rebellion choosing to run out 2 minutes on quite a few occasions just to get that initial score differential in place. Now we're seeing much faster, shut down quicker, and jams are just over before sometimes they've even started.
Yeah. So Foxu through there for the lead. Brom, comes in hot and heavy into that wall, and that looks like a low block penalty assessed. So power jam in favour of Auld Reekie. Well, Trackadder broke through, but for some reason decided to take that backwards skating, and it meant Nightmare was able to live up to their name once again, chase them through the front of that pack with that huge hit out. Trackadder recovered, but valuable seconds lost in this power jam in their favour.
Absolutely. Trackadder now making the most of it. Auld Reekie are finding themselves going on some offence.
Yeah, great work over in the far side there by Auld Reekie's blockers. Able to just contain some of Rebellion. Foxu back on track and in play for them though.
And Auld Reekie seem to be a little bit more in their element when the speed is on the pack.
Yes.
That's when their offence seems to be working better. When it's static and slower, it's not quite working for them. But as you can see, once they've got that pack moving, both the Trackadder and the blockers, just pass after pass.
And a beautiful sweep there by the Auld Reekie blockers to allow Trackadder to get on through and pick up those points. And this must be one of the highest scoring jams we've seen for Auld Reekie all game, as Trackadder comes in once again. Foxu hard on their wheels. Trackadder takes the outside. Foxu also knocked inside now.
And I think although it's been a good 14 points for Auld Reekie, now 13 for Rebellion. There's a couple more, I think, going on Auld Reekie's score at the end of the jam. I think the fact that really Auld Reekie only picked up a couple of points difference, it just shows that they've not quite got that versatility between offense, defense, offense, defense.
Yeah, it's that speed, isn't it, that they're just lacking in this game. So Auld Reekie on 117, Rebellion 259. We've got 5 minutes 20 left of this game. Timeout called as we see those much needed track repairs.
Auld Reekie's pack bringing themselves together, preparing for the next jam.
And we look like we're going to get back to it, Brom. Number 13, Boris with the star for Rebellion.
NCAF for Auld.
It's a familiar matchup we've seen quite a bit in this game, these two jammers going head to head.
And I think that we've quite often seen Boris picking up the lead first. Boris is finding those holes, but Emka's pushing hard up the front. It's Boris that takes it on the outside line to pick up lead jammer.
Emka also tries the outside, knocked out though. Having to go through the blocking contingent once again. Escorted to the inside by number 88, Tina turned her. Finally breaks through though, just as Boris hits the back of that pack on a scoring pass. 4 points on the board for Rebellion. And Boris deciding to call off that jam with just those 4 points. Up next, jamming for Rebellion, it's number 8, Jude Dropper.
And Crash Kale for Auld B.
Well, Jude Dropper is your lead jammer. Crash Kale dancing up the outside line, moves inwards, takes a hit from 455. That's Booty Vicious once again. Blocker of note for Rebellion in this pack. Crash Kale knocked inside, recycled back. Jude Dropper taken outside, moves swiftly to the inside to pick up those 5 points for Rebellion.
Crash so nearly remaining on the track. 4.55 again, putting in a well-timed hit, forcing Crash off the inside line to the middle of the track.
A Rebellion, just with that crowd around Auld Reekie's jammer, makes it nearly impossible for Auld Reekie's blockers to offer kind of offensive support to spring their jammer free, but also means that they create a natural space for Rebellion's jammer to get on through. So Crash Kale still looking for an in here. Rebellion already on a 15-point jam. Dewdropper comes through once again, meets some defensive work. Auld Reekie take the pack forward, but don't have that blocker available to bridge and help.
Dewdropper doing a nice 360 turn to get around Aug's wall.
Oh, Crash Kale sees daylight, but takes a late hit there and ends up being recycled right the way back as Dewdropper picks up a further 5 points, taking the jam total to 25 from.
Are we going to see one more pass before the last second of this jam runs out? I think there's going to be a couple more points on that board. A 27-point jam, taking Rebellion's total to 289. 2 minutes left on the clock.
So I was just looking, their really big score was 389 against Norfolk.
That's the points differential.
That's the points differential. I'm sorry, excuse me. Okay, well,
Wow.
that was hello.
I can understand why you'd look at that and think it's the score though, because
Yeah.
that's a huge number to win a game by. Auld picking up lead jammer, Dinosaurus Rex.
Yeah, great job by Danny there to get through. Acute injury, having to play some catch up here and putting a turn of speed on around the track. But Dinosaurus Rex already through on that scoring pass and decides to call the jam. So points picked up by Auld Reekie, 4 in total, none picked up by Rebellion. Is Auld Reekie's next game plan to not allow Rebellion the opportunity to get to 300?
I think they can do it.
Yeah, I mean they've got a minute left just over of the period clock, so maybe one jam, maybe 2 jams left in this game. 1-2-1 plays 289, and actually we're down to just under a minute now on the period clock.
So Boris is stepping up for Rebellion, but it is Trackadder for Auld Reekie that picks up lead jammer. Boris isn't far behind, about half a length. It looks like Boris picking up a cut track penalty.
Yeah, good track penalty assessed. So power jam in this final jam for Auld Reekie, and Trackadder powering through, and Auld Reekie switching to that offense much quicker than we've seen in the rest of this game. You can see it here, fantastic work. Crowding Booty Vicious, who we know is a real threat in terms of defensive blocking.
Great at putting in that last line of defence. I mean, even doing it against Auld Reekie's blockers now, trying to get back up there with their teammates.
Wow, great work there by Trackadder. Patience pays off, Padawan. They get on through and pick up a further 5 points for Auld Reekie.
And the period clock's run out, so it does look like Rebellion are going to be denied the opportunity to break the 300.
Well, Boris is standing there in the penalty box now. 40 seconds just left on this clock as Trackadder breaks through once again. 15 points now picked up by Auld Reekie, 136 to 289.
Sheer determination and force from Trackadder, using every last ounce of energy left in the team, deciding to call it, leaving the unofficial score as 289 plays 137. A great last jam from Trackadder.
Absolutely, a great last jam from the whole of Auld Reekie there, and that switch to the offense as soon as they had the power jam in their favour was phenomenal and gave them great results. So absolutely bang on work I wish we'd see more of that.
I do, and I think if it had come a bit earlier, I think we would have seen that points differential close. But regardless,
Still a respectable score.
a fantastic game from both teams.
Yeah.
You know, both have had incredible British Champs seasons. I'm looking forward to seeing them play next year.
Yes.
After they've looked at what they've done here, watched the footage back and gone, where is it that we need to pick that up?
And obviously listen to our wonderful advice, Rob.
A big thank you to everyone that's stuck with the stream. We know there's been a few issues, so thank you for everyone that's stuck with us. Or if you're watching this back on record, hope you've enjoyed it all the same.
I've been the lovely Beatrix.
And I've been Brom. The final score, 137 to Old Reekie B team, 289 to Rebellion.